It's Podular. Welcome back, everybody. We are post DC Anthem show. It is Thursday, June 19th, 2025. Happy Juneteenth to everybody. We got episode 34 here, our Walter Payton episode. And we have a very fitting guest, considering it's that Walter Payton episode. But we're going to be talking all things STS9 at Anthem, their show last Friday. We're going to be recapping that. Before we get into that, we've got an announcement to cover about the Asheville shows. But before we get into all that, bring in my co-host, Mr. Scotty Fuller. How you doing?
Doing great, mate. Doing wonderful. Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie. When you said the Walter Payton thing, I was like, why Walter Payton? Why are we looking for a Walter Payton jersey today? And now I feel stupid. And without further ado, our guest for our Walter Payton episode, a Chicago native, Mr. Boxhead, Brandon Pearl himself. How's it going, brother? Our boots on the ground for this week.
Bear down.
Yes, sir.
It was a missed opportunity. I forgot my jersey, but oh well.
Hey, second recurring guest. So welcome back to the program, friend of the program. And again, like Scotty said, you were our boots on the ground this past weekend in DC. So really excited to get your perspective on the band's debut at a new venue that sounded like it was really cool. But before we get into that, let's talk Asheville, guys.
Yeah.
Asheville, we had an announcement here about the 2-night run. So a message from the band here. Join us as we celebrate our new studio album, Human Dream, and 20 years of Artifact. So we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Artifact here, which actually passed a little bit earlier this year. We did a whole episode about that. But it sounds like I don't know. That's all the info we have. What do you guys think this means?
I mean, before I speculate on that, can we just talk about how cool the Artifact tree looks inside the Human Dream logo? I mean, fucking dude, so cool. Anyway, I'm sure that's Taylor's doing. Shout out to him. Just another stuck landing. As far as what that means, I mean, well, first of all, it seems like this is not the only one of these, which is exciting. They said in this announcement, get your tickets coming to come celebrate Artifact with us at the link below, and stay tuned for more Human Dream plus Artifact show announcements. If we are, I think we might be in store. I mean, I know everybody's been looking for a full-fledged tour. Maybe we are about to get a combo tour where we're rolling out the Human Dream and flushing in a whole lot of Artifact into that. That was kind of the first thing that I thought. I don't know if it would be a kind of repeat of 2017 when they did an Artifact night. I'd be interested to hear you guys' perspective on if that's where you feel like it's going, or I don't know. What do y'all think?
It's kind of fitting actually, because I've actually never seen them do Artifact in full. When they did it at Red Rocks, it was my stepbrother's wedding, which was actually in Portland, Oregon. So that's pretty interesting considering that whole West Coast show run thing.
That's the next place you're seeing them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting, kind of fitting. But I think what an interesting concept, especially because if you think about it, right, the Human Dream is to kind of like create an artifact, and yet, you know, with like the weird way that like STS9 works and kind of like the reverse engineering and the being on like the cutting edge and just kind of doing what they do, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like fitting that right, they would almost try and pair these kind of two concepts together.
Yeah, that's why we bring you on, B, for that artistic mind that you got like that. And that kind of perspective is really cool to think of. I'd like to think that what this means is we're gonna see a ton of segues between Human Dream songs
Yep.
and Artifact songs. I don't
Yep.
think we see one Artifact night and then one Human Dream night. I think
Right.
that they, right off the bat in Nashville, one of the coolest things about what they've been doing with these songs is pairing them with the old with the
Yeah,
new.
we've talked about it
And
week after week after week all year, every single time.
this goes back to the very first time we heard Glass live in Atlanta
Yeah.
at the Eastern. That was like, holy shit. That's definitely a new song, but it doesn't fucking sound like a new song, right? So
No, it
I
sounds
think
like Artifact.
right. And,
Yeah.
and Scotty, like you said, they could do a whole tour, a whole set of shows like that because that just creates endless possibilities, right?
Sure, it's a prompt, right?
Yeah.
It's here are these two works of art, put them on a playground together,
Yeah.
and that's fun for an artist to do, and especially where they're at creatively right now, where it feels like they're firing on all cylinders. New lighting design, new everything. It just feels like a cool prompt that it might end up being like what you said, kind of uh almost a mashup series of those two albums in a live setting.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that they always do this. It's like, especially even with like the new album art and like the new song releases and things like that. It's all a collage, right? It's all layers on top of each other, trying to build and create this new thing, which is I think something that they tapped into on their last album release or previously with TUI. If you would count that as like the last album, right? It was
Yeah.
ahead of its time, but that kind of everyone disliked it at first, but then it kind of became this thing that where they took parts out and kind of layered different things and kind of made new music.
Yeah, but it's just like it's almost like a TUI Artifact like theme wouldn't really work, right?
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
what we're hearing here with these new songs that have been released and we've been hearing live and rolled out, like it fits with pretty much anything, right? But
Yeah.
specifically, I think with that, I get to thinking like Scotty, you brought it up, like I had to look at it again. Yeah, the artifact tree within the human dream head. I'm thinking like the silhouettes, the artifact silhouettes mash up with a bunch of the human dream art. It's some of the visual art and the merch that comes out of this is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
And the ability with the new lights to kind of include a little bit more video, possibly. It's stuff that I had on purpose not really given myself much time to think about it before this because I wanted to discuss it with you guys, but it's giving me goosebumps for sure. It's just gonna be exciting. So get your tickets, folks. Again, that's at Asheville Yards, August 1st, August 2nd. Beats Antique opening night 1, Emancipator opening night 2. God damn, that is that's a cool opening. But
Ugh.
speaking of openers, right? Let's talk DC, right? The All Good pre-party at the Anthem in Washington D.C. on Friday, June 13th. Friday the 13th. Wow. Yeah.
Spooky.
Let's talk openers first here. Brandon, me and Scotty have never seen it. What's it like seeing Lotus and STS9 in the same building on the same night?
It was really cool to see
Yeah.
STS9 and Lotus play the same show, especially two bands like getting into the jam band scene, like two of my favorites. So to see them on the same bill, like you would, 16 years ago, was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that was really fun and cool. But let me break down before you even get to the opener. Just like the Anthem is a cool place.
Yeah. Talk to us about the venue. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right there on the water. There's like a bunch of like tiny little restaurants and like good places to go get a drink or even like little rooftops, ton of hotels over there. So we weren't super affected by like the impending doom of the parade too much, I would say, because we didn't have to get in and get out of there. But the venue, super cool place, state of the art, kind of reminded me of the Eastern, mixed with maybe like the Salt Shed. kind of like industrial warehouse vibes, but also still like super classy, like bars and bathrooms. Great place for a show. Nice little elevated standing terrace up at the back. Was cool. So we hung out there for the beginning of the show and checked out Lotus. Wow, what a way to start wax spaghetti opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, get your meatballs. Caesar brought peppers from New York on his way. You know,
Yeah, super
um,
funky start to the show. And then some newer songs. Reed, and I don't know if Reed is a newer song. Electric Orange, I know, is one of the newer ones. And then a fucking Hezbollah cover, the A-Track
lots of fun.
remix.
Yeah, A-Track or Duck Sauce or whoever.
I'm sure there was no symbolism intended with that one either.
Yeah, there we go. I hadn't thought of that.
Oh yeah, that was why I said we should open with it.
Oh yeah.
This
Also, really nice
This
to
is
see
an SCS9 program, all right?
they still leave Chuck's gear on stage, which I thought was
Really?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
And, yeah, Rohan actually pointed that out to me, so it was cool. Big ups to Rohan.
And then I mean, killer end of the show. Flower Sermon, Shimmer and Out. Great way to end it.
Yeah.
Overall, just talking about the venue before we get into the STS9 show. Sound wise, how was it?
Crispy, like
yeah,
the best sound.
Yeah, all these new venues that are like this, these new mid-sized venues seem to really be nailing that. So, you know, overall, Brandon, seems like we'd like to see STS9 go back to the Anthem, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a cool place. I think it would be cool if they did like a mini run because there's a ton of good venues like right there.
Oh, I mean, me and Scotty were talking about it last week. The 930 Club is
yeah, dude. 930. The Fillmore. They've got a Fillmore out there. The Anthem. Yeah, there's some really.
Paul's Church really isn't that far either.
Right.
I wasn't at that show, but I heard good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would love to see him go back, and yeah, that kind of a mini run with maybe a 930 Club show, an Anthem show. That'd be really cool to go back to DC there. But let's get into the show, boys. Obviously, we opened with that little Surge clip as our intro for this episode, and we're gonna start there as well with our first full clip here. So we'll get into it. Proper start. Yeah, I really like what is happening with Surge recently. What do you guys think?
This song is going through its teething phase right now, if I might borrow something that I'm also going through with my son. It's growing some teeth, man. It's a great opener. It works with a lot of different stuff. Very, very appropriate with that Searchlight, to new songs that kind of feel like they were made in the same breath, maybe. And yeah, no, really strong opener with Surge, and then this Searchlight was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get into that as well. Yeah, but yeah, B, overall vibe on how the show started.
I was a little disappointed only because I thought it was a great opportunity to do Unquestionable, especially like if they rolled back that old sample, just in light of
Everything going on.
yeah, like the
The
tanks
military parade and the tanks
and,
rolling down
and I just
Pennsylvania
like
Avenue.
thought like like super duper like hit like fish doing like punch you in your eye or something opener.
Sure.
Really getting really like fuck the establishment, kind of and getting in there. But I think in their own subtle way, they do their art, and I'm not the artist, so to be, we've all had experiences where we want an opener and it doesn't, quite pan out. So it's I don't know anything, and they clearly had a beautiful written set list that I thought like flowed throughout the show, and still got their licks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was what I was just about to say. It's not like they didn't get their licks in.
Yeah. No, exactly. In my head, that's where I went as a fan. But I think in their own way, right? They like first brought this like surge of energy, and they still tell the story,
I agree.
throughout their set list, just in a different way than, I'm not the storyteller. I'm the
right. Maybe that was too obvious, right?
And I thought that too.
The combination of Surge, this segue into Searchlight, is smooth as butter, right? And it's something, I'd never heard of. Like great HB guitar licks at the end of this Surge intro into just like perfect. I don't know if the keys or the tempos were changed. We saw some tempo and key changes just like we did in the preview episode. Again, JFK would have loved those. But these two married together, I'd like to see more of it because it just works so perfectly. And we're hearing more and more layers added to Surge. Obviously, the last one we got in New Orleans, and massive modular jam off the back of it, where it kind of seemed to come full form rather than being an interlude song. But this one as an interlude, as a segue into Searchlight, I thought was beautifully executed here.
It's funny you said. It's funny you said that about that added section in Surge, because I wrote down at one point as I was listening to the show today, I'm starting to lose track of all of these new sections between Surge and Strange Games and Year Infinity. There's a lot of shit that like is not there that the before, where you're like, okay, that wasn't an improv though, that was like an extra 3 minutes that didn't exist before, or was it? I don't know, but it's getting fun out there.
Yeah. Well, we're not going far for our next clip. It was the back end of this Searchlight, which was an absolute onslaught.
I mean, who do you talk about first?
that was my I think Alana. I think
Okay,
Alana
we'll
on the
start
fret
there.
tracks there. Just like I've never heard her lay into that song like that yet.
Yeah.
We've seen longer searchlights. We've seen modular led searchlights. That was a fret tracks led searchlight, where it kind of like made me flash back to like that fret tracks section of the Totem from Nashville, where it was
Yeah.
just like absolute fuck around time for her.
Mhm.
Like just meow, 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 absolute fucking dirt snack shit. Like
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it, kind of in response to Hunter on the front end of that clip that we just played.
yeah.
Dude, Hunter was all over the middle of that searchlight.
Hmm.
And then, Mr. Reliable, David Phipps, just the whole time, just
Hitting you
absolutely
with the
on point.
modular vomits. The
Mhm. What's the vibe like at this moment in the
Ray
building,
guns.
Brandon?
The vibe is absolutely bonkers. It's crazy to see because typically like Jamie and I don't go up front, but we were up on the rail and you just turn around and it's just a sea of unfamiliar faces just having a great time and
Love to
going
hear that.
super hard right off the bat. So they definitely or should have gained a couple new fans, I would hope, from a stellar performance such as that. And this is where I'm like, okay, like ego death. Like,
Doesn't matter what I think anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what I think. It's like, it's just, I think this is Searchlight. It took me a minute, and I'm like, holy shit, So
Yeah. For my money, that's the best one so far. And like you said, like Zach was all over it. I mean, on some of the drum fills, Jeffrey going ham on the hand sonic.
he might have broke 4 drumsticks.
It sounds like it was that kind of night.
Just
For
a
sure.
fucking graveyard of Vic Firth drumsticks everywhere. I don't even know if that's his drumstick.
um, yeah, this is a great way to start the show, and then they don't give you much time. They don't give you any time to catch your breath, and that leads us.
Right into it.
Yeah, we've got a couple clips from this next section here. We're gonna start here.
That was cool.
Talk about key changes.
Beep, 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 boop, boop.
to hear that, and again, we'll get someone from the band on to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that dun, 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 is labeled the all neon section. To hear the all neon section in the EHM key, because they've done the EHM the rabble business, but like never really kind of messing with like two of the songs in the different key. You can hear it before they get into the like that is still in the EHM key, and to hear that section in that key sounds really fucking good to me.
Yeah, I mean, putting, and I can't confirm this, but I feel like EHM doesn't normally go first in this one. Usually when they do it together, I could be dead wrong on this, guys. I have no idea. It just, hearing the beginning of the rabble coming out of that EHM sounded so new and creative. And while we've seen these songs next to each other before, I don't know if I remember them doing it quite like that.
I feel like they could be pretty interchangeable, though, Scotty.
You could. Be right.
I think that's what they're demonstrating for sure. You're right. I just picked up the last time they did it. It's been the rabble, EHM, the rabble.
Yeah, and those keys at the beginning of the rabble in all of that kind of layered modular real FIP shining loud at the beginning of the EHM. Dude, that shit it's haunting almost. It gives like a darker layer to EHM, which is already a pretty fucking dark song as far as their catalog, but it's like
it's haunted with that
door.
You got that Friday the 13th vibes,
right?
Doom Parade, tensions high.
This show is very haunted already.
Yeah. I was gonna say that, man. I don't know if I'm stretching too hard. I might be stretching a little hard with this, but I think you could read the first 5 songs of this set as a very strong political putting.
For sure. EHM, economic hitman.
No, I mean Surge.
Yeah.
Searchlight. People running up and taking people out of houses. Like, maybe I'm stretching a little bit there, but
no, you're not.
To me, this
or just thing, like, where's the representation? Where's the due process? Where's the habeas?
Yeah. Right, like Searchlight feels like a very menacing thing when put against the other songs in these first 5. And as we were listening to that EHM rabble, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I hadn't thought about it like that before, but I think they kind of did kick the door in pretty hard politically on these first 5 songs.
Yeah, and then the EHM and the rabble are obvious.
Sure. Once they kind of unveiled it, but for me, I said,
okay, yeah. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, it's easy to say that. I can see how it.
Well, exactly, yeah, right. But being like, you wanted me there, boots on the ground,
of course,
right? Which really is a strange another pun to the level of
that's true.
This, right?
Right. But score 1 for Nate on the EHM call for me here on the popular belt points here.
You're
catching up. We'll get to another point later, but let's finish this section with another clip of it.
Shotgun cock.
Let's go.
Wow.
Ooh, keychain. God damn that. I love when they end on that note. Just the grrr.
I I am so into labeling an EHM part 2. Um, I I have a given hot take about this song that I'll go ahead and say. I've always felt
Which one?
EHM. I
EHM?
I think EHM's too long. I've always I've always believed that. I don't dislike that song. I dislike the fact that probably on average it's a 13-minute long song, and it does not need to be a 13-minute long song. Um, Now, the idea of breaking it up and particularly um, starting at what kind of sound the part of EHN that kind of sounds like "Yeah" by Usher.
Yep.
From then on, making that an EHM part 2 that is kind of like, the other songs we've seen them do that with, Inspire Strikes Back part 2. Let's keep EHM as a part 1 and part 2 and play around with that with other songs, because
Oh
that is
yeah.
its own section that I think is just as good as any part of that song. So let's shorten it
Could
up by doing
see
that.
could see a Dusk EHM or something like that.
Yeah, Dusk EHM part 2. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm talking about.
Start just play
That's
around with all that dark shit. But my God, I mean, it's a tough segment to label because they're just going back and forth between it so seamlessly, and you lose count of how many times they're going. There's EHM Part 5. It seems
Hmm.
like, right? Um, but Brandon, you gotta have a sweat going by now, right?
yeah. Oh, we're sweating. It's like EHM glass. They got the clicks going, and you're like, whoa, what is this? Um, but yeah, it was definitely a highlight of the show. I think for me at least. Just big build. Phipps got real synthy. Um, it did feel a little long at parts. I could see what Scotty's saying with like a part 2. It could be interesting. Um, but yeah, no, definitely like the rabble was huge, and that being one of my buddy Blake's favorite songs, it's always a good to hear and think about a buddy. So
Absolutely. And then they
yeah,
get into another one of your favorites and kind of like a little bit of a tiny transition segue into it, just like where they kind of took that final note from EHM right into this frequencies, right? So
yeah.
I know another big highlight for you, Brandon, this being one of your favorites. Talk about this frequencies for us. As a frequencies
Frequencies
connoisseur.
was super jazzy. You know, they went deep on it, and like I think people were surprised that that was the direction that they went, just because it was like kind of like a lull after like such a heavy EHM rabble kind of
Yeah, it's a vibe switch
monster.
up for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but real groovy and like dancey and funky. So it was nice to kind of like jazz out and like blissfully for a moment while we were doing that. So
Good shit. And then we get into some human dream stuff here. Scotty, talk us through our next couple tracks.
Yes, we got Year Infinity and Strange Games, which were honestly, as I was listening through, some of my highlights, just because the songs that they're going to be featuring for the next foreseeable future are these songs amongst the other songs on the Human Dream. And I said it at the beginning of the episode, but I'm starting to lose track of what these songs looked like even the show before, compared to what they look like now. Strange Games is getting new life breathed into it in a very serious way.
Yeah,
um,
that modular section near the back is seeming like it's sticking pretty hard for
Yeah.
sure.
And
Um,
then Year Infinity, I mean, what used to be Seed is now a much better version of Seed. It feels less like kind of this open jam, which is nothing wrong with that, but it feels less like kind of an open jam a la like a Dragon
like a
City or
concept. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And more like a real song with some area to explore certain parts depending on the mood of the night.
Well, that like I'll call it the Year Infinity section, right, where it like switches from seed
Yeah.
into that new back section, like that
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
dude where it
Yeah.
sounds like you pick up a star on Rainbow Road and then you're hitting it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like
good,
that
good.
those three notes, like the do 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 do
Yeah.
That little transition is getting nailed better every time that they're doing it, and it's still taking me by surprise every time I'm hearing it. Right? It's almost like you're getting down to the funk part of Seed, and then you almost forget about it, and they hit you with that, and it's like it feels good. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's like an adrenaline shot, right? You
yeah.
know, like it's fluffy, it's fun, it's not too serious. Like it's honestly, and this has been fun. This role has been fun because there's not a whole lot of hate behind any of the changes. Like I haven't seen any complaints about this. I think a blissy kind of section like this in some previous eras of STS9 might not have been as welcomed so universally, but it seems like everything they're doing right now, fans are fucking with it.
I think less blissy, more like poppy and candy ass, almost like,
Yeah.
like, but then they bring you to that like almost spectacle sounding, which I've talked about before, like that. They
Like
bring you
driving
into
the
that.
spaceship.
Yep, exactly.
Shifting.
So Brandon, for you being in the room, a lot of people in that room hearing these songs or the new sections for the first time. How was the reception?
Well, I think like the crowd went off at the section you're just talking about where they just right and like bring it into the next gear. Like the crowd's losing it. And I mean, you know, I don't know how Caesar does it. He's jumping up and down. He's like a kangaroo.
Oh, he's all over these soundboards, by the way. It's good to hear him back at a soundboard. Between songs, you can hear some "fuck yeah, Hunter." Let's fucking go. There's actually there's one of them where it's in between songs and you can hear Zach laugh at Caesar. It's pretty funny. I don't know which one it's in between here, but yeah. And then we get into a little bit of a Chromolite interlude here with Sky Space, where Zach addresses the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And says thanks for dealing, right? And I think that's got to be in reference to people had a really hard time if they're trying to get in an Uber or drive to this show that like they're having to go through Secret Service checkpoints and shit. And you know they're conscious of that shit. And it seemed like from everything you've said, Brandon, the room filled out really nicely, and people still got their way to their show and made their way there. And
as somebody who's seen a few shows, it was really weird to be in a room where I felt like I only knew like 10 people, 10 other fans in the room. That was a strange feeling.
It sounds refreshing. It sounds kind of
well, fun. Yeah, it was really reflecting. Yeah,
I can't remember the last time that I felt like, you know, I didn't know the closest 50 people around me at an STS9 show.
Yeah, so we raised the rail with Chelsea Hen and her I want to say husband, and then Dan and Ashley and a couple other people. But it was a nice time. I mean, like this crowd was nuts, and to see that out of like a bunch of people that I don't know, like, and they're like it's a big room. Like I'm talking like Salt Shed, maybe not as like long of a room, but it was like maybe more like the Moody. Like it was a wide.
Yeah, I mean the Eastern's wide. I think that's what I was kind was kind
Yeah. Like, and it filled in, and it was a good, like people had a good time. It was good. It was rock.
Well, people, there's no way they couldn't have had a good time during this next clip. But during this clip in particular. So right after Sky Space, we get into what that acted as a little bit of an interlude into this next track that we're going to get down to. That one sounded a little fast paced, huh? The tempo picked up there.
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
Um, we can cut this if you don't want to. Do we want to get into shock doctrine? It feels like an appropriate time to talk about the inspiration of that song, or do we want
Why would we not? Let's do
Okay.
it.
So it was a topic of conversation in the lounge this week. You know, somebody basically said, and we're not singling anybody out here. I'm not saying any names, but there was basically a conversation of is TS9 a political band or not? I think the three of us would resoundingly agree that the answer to that question is yes.
When they want to be, yeah.
When they want to be,
Mhm.
and
It's not what defines them, but
no,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
but it would be it would be ignoring reality to say that this band hasn't had pretty significant stretches of their career where they weren't being very publicly outspoken about something.
They're honestly, I would go ahead,
Bush
Brandon.
Katrina Bush administration. You don't have an album named Peace Blaster if you're not a fucking political band in some way, shape, or form.
I would make the argument that and people need to realize this, like just because you disagree with the current administration doesn't mean you love our country. They're patriots.
Yeah.
They believe in the American dream, the ethos of our country and the ethos of democracy and everything like that. So like
Sure.
just because you're political doesn't mean you hate this country, right?
Right. And so
I think it shows their patriotism for sure.
I agree. And obviously, sometimes it's been more on the nose. You can find dozens of Murph clips of him, kind of ranting about, a certain administration or another. They're big on registering to vote. And then you've got songs, I would say the two biggest kind of on the nose song title examples of this. Maybe three: Peace Blaster with the sticker Brandon's holding, but Shock Doctrine and EHM.
Yeah.
And Shock Doctrine is a book by a woman named Naomi Klein, basically highlighting how certain bad actors in our political system use natural disasters, war, and other things that kind of shake the system up to push very
Agendas.
unpopular
Push their agenda,
policies
to
and
push their
agendas.
Yeah.
fascist, oligarchy, anarchist agendas, where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and people don't have access to the services or the human dream, right?
Right.
That we all should have access to as human beings. That
And what our country was founded upon, right?
Exactly.
So Brandon, you put together some really cool art with the stickers and everything like that. So walk us through, show us each sticker you made, and
Oh yeah,
talk about it.
so I've been trying to step my game up as people have seen. I've been doing more like packs than just handing somebody like a sweaty crumpled up sticker that's been in my pocket for the whole show. So I've been making these nice packs. So this is the DC pack. So with it, I designed this first one was supposed to be like a '60s political button, right? Life's a symphony and unity.
Nice.
It's all right, and then it's got like the DC anthem, June 13th at the bottom. There's even a little nod to Lotus here with the little lotus flower at the base of the hand, and then right holding the flowers, music, peace, love, all that good stuff that this political band is or not political band is about. Right, AK-47 peace blast. You got the little peace sign up in there, right up in there. It's cool. And then of course, right, DC politics, Human Dream
Fire.
2025. That's us. I still have a ton of Peace Blasters and Human Dreams that I can be handing out.
Well, I know who's got my vote this year. It is Human and Dream 2025.
Human and Dream.
But let's talk about this shock doctrine. Yeah, the politics aside. Right? First things first. 2 points for me. Like 2 out of my 3.
Most importantly,
he's just racking them up.
I started that clip very intentionally before it gets into the jam, like the final scripted part, because like, dude, Zach Velmer, um,
Hmm.
I'm gonna let really Brandon kind of decide the MVP of the show once we get through the whole show and kind of
It's
give
gonna
his
be
piece on
tough.
that.
It
But
was a close race.
I
for
yeah,
all my money, it's Zach Velmer.
okay.
Like the half open hi hats he had rolling and everything like that, and like the drum fills he had going on, are like what really stuck out to me about before they got into this shock doctrine jam, which again was kind of like a sizzling jam, like it picked up the pace a little bit, or maybe it was just more notes than you typically hear a funk jam of shock doctrine. But man, Zach Velmer broke it down real good at the end of that scripted section there. I had to point that out.
Mhm.
Um, man, fucking Phipps and Alana going at it here, like.
Yeah, it was big wizard energy, big frog bass.
Yep.
Just yeah,
Just marching forward in
yeah,
unison.
just a forest of woodland creatures hobbling along.
Oh, for sure. I
Not
mean,
not the longest shock doctrine, but like you said,
no.
a lot packed into honestly a song that's normally 3 or 4 minutes longer. But didn't feel short. Actually, fuck what I think about that. Did it feel short to you, Brandon, in the house as it was
No,
happening?
it felt it felt reasonable. I mean, it's a 10-minute shock D. That's pretty reasonable, I would say, as far as shock Ds go. But I do think like they jammed out the funk section a little bit more, maybe where they like kind of went a little bit deeper with kind of their noises and the ribbits and the clicks and the fairy dust and all that good stuff that they were sprinkling in there. But yeah, Shock D was massive.
Yeah.
It was a very big track, I think, for the night, and then especially where they go next, and well, I mean, you're the
Yeah.
enthusiast.
Long,
So
long,
so average.
longest track of the night. But yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
So my bad. So just I pulled up some quick stats. So average length of shock doctrine is about 11 minutes. It's
Yeah,
10 minutes 54.
that's got to factor in so many pre 2015 versions, though. I bet
Yeah.
if you took those stats from 2015 up until now, it's closer to 13 and a half minutes is your average.
I
Um,
bet you Chris could probably give you that stat.
Probably, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
again.
but that definitely compared to other ones, definitely on the shorter side. But like again, like with this particular jam, I don't think the length mattered as much. I think that mattered a little bit more in some of the other songs near the second half of the show. But that kicks us off. We're 10 tracks in, 10 tracks to go, and they get the kind of second half of the show started.
Because
With
it was a marathon. It was
yeah,
one long set. It
yep,
was beefy,
yeah.
which Zach actually prefers. He wishes it was always one marathon and just done.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit on the show, and I'm a big proponent of these one long sets. But yeah, we start things off in the second half of the show, getting back into the human dream with Peachtree, which I don't know if it'll get old. But
Mm-mm.
you know, one of my wonders is like, when are we getting that extended Peachtree?
I think it might be a while.
Mm.
I think usually you see creative segs before you see jammed out sections within newer songs, I think.
Yeah, and we got
Um,
that with the live debut,
right,
100%. Yeah.
right, and I think we're gonna see more of that before we
See,
see a 8-10 minute long peach tree.
I'm
Go ahead,
talking,
Brandon.
bro. Give me 13, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
But go ahead, Brandon.
do you think if they were to have broken the set, their Shakti would have been the closer and Peachtree would have been the
Interesting.
set two opener?
I think that's
I
pretty
yeah,
natural.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that
I
makes
think
sense.
that's like because I'm sitting here like looking
It,
at the set
it's
list trying to
it's a
think
20
about it.
song set. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that interludes that we talked about, like the little tracks where they almost seem to kind of give themselves a break. That kind of break seemed like to be the sky space a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But in terms of like vibe switch ups, Yeah, I think if you're looking at set 1 and set 2, Shock Doctrine rounds out the vibe of the first set pretty well, as Peachtree kind of gets it more into that dancier vibe of the second half of the show for sure. Um, so yeah, Peachtree, and then Kamui, a very different Kamui.
Very different.
Yeah, it seemed like it kind of took them a little bit to get going during the drum break, but when they did, they kind of found a different drum pattern a little bit, and it really synced up and made for a really good breakdown. Which I know last week we took a listen to that old school Evasive Kamui breakdown, which is just fucking legendary.
It was really different. It didn't feel like it fit in the spot for a moment, and
Yep.
it felt like the wind got knocked out of me for a second, but then I think and maybe it was where I was standing, but it sounded like Free needed to be turned up just a tidbit on the beginning.
Yeah, he was quiet in the beginning. That might have been intentional too, because he like set a different pattern. And
Yeah.
like Zach was still just like rolling the hi-hat a little bit, and like it almost like it was like he was waiting for those like patterns to sync a little bit, and he might have been playing with like intentional volume a little bit more to kind of like ease that into it. Because it was a little
like left this like open space for them to then just kind of fill with the second half of Kamui, which was exactly what they did.
It came full circle for sure, but it like typically like they start that drum break and right away it's like really easy to find the rhythm and get down with. Like me listening to this, I was kind of almost like where do I hop in on, like where's the upbeat and the downbeat and everything like that. But cool to see him do something different with it. Not my favorite Kamui, but definitely a different one for sure. Yeah,
and I think later on, like when they get into some of the meteor chops of it. I definitely like some of those parts a lot.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Scotty, did you have thoughts on it?
Not really. I kind of chuckled when you said not my favorite Kamui, because like, goddamn, there's literally not a higher bar for a song than Kamui. They've played it literally hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, fuck, dude. If this ended up being your favorite Kamui, what are the chances? Like
it probably was your first one if it's your favorite one.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. It's so funny, dude. Very early into my time as an STS9 fan, I remember the Kamui because I don't think I've ever listened to it since. It was at the Georgia Theater. They encored with it, I think the first night or maybe the second night. It was encore one of those nights in 2013. And I go, I don't think I ever need to listen to another Kamui again. And I just,
you couldn't have been more wrong.
Every time I hear a better Kamui, I'm like, you were so fucking young and stupid back then, dude. You know, you probably said that to somebody that knew what they were talking about, and they were like, this fucking nerd right here.
Trying to think of my favorite Kamui.
The crowd was a whole lot less forgiving to newbies back then as well. So you're probably right.
Yeah, dude. I
mean, did they play one of that 15 Red Barn, Nate? I think that's still my favorite Kamui.
No, they did not. You may be thinking of the best grow ever.
That for sure.
Yeah. You actually weren't allowed to show any enthusiasm towards anything in 2013 around these parts. You would be laughed out of any venue that you were inside of.
Exactly. Well, that takes us to our next clip, which was another really cool segue that we're going to get into here. more butter, butter, baby.
I know my name says Peachtree Enthusiast, but I think Life is a Symphony and Unity It's Alright might grow to be my favorite song on the Human Dream.
It's been my favorite song before it was a symphony. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's fire.
Let's talk balancing first, folks, because
Sure.
this is this is a really cool thing to see them what they've been doing and playing around with it. Because the last one we heard at the Fox Theater in Oakland was segued into Potamus, right? Which is a dance floor bomb, right? I mean, like, and Life's Symphony and Unity, It's Alright, is an absolute dance floor firecracker. Like, I mean, so it seems like they're finding a place for balancing it within a set.
Yeah. And it's the fuse for a fucking bow.
Yeah,
you're right. You're completely right, dude.
And I think that I like the concept for the song. I think the problem with it for so long is it was a momentum killer. And they were having a hard time finding where it fit, like, and understanding, like, okay, do we put a modular jam on the back of it? Which there's some really good ones from kind of the 2019 era with that. But yeah, as a segue into a dance floor rocket, it seems like a really good spot for it. And really well executed with this segue. Love to hear them fucking around with the new songs like this.
La Suya.
So that's actually interesting too. Just one more thing on balancing for our boots on the ground. How did this song ring off to a bunch of fans that you didn't recognize?
I mean, you know, a lot of people go Festi set when they see that song. I don't think so. I was a fan of balancing when it was Greenlight before the Armani Rain. You know, I just like the lyrics were very resonant, and I think it just kind of flowed really well into Life's a Symphony and Unity. It's all right.
Wow.
And as soon as they started to like creep up in there at the end, I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get into it, for sure.
You could feel the energy. It was palpable.
Yes. So there was a huge section at the end of this. Life's a Symphony and Unity. It's all right. So we'll take a listen to that next.
You know what's
Hi, Maureen.
crazy
What's up?
is I think Maureen Murphy is on my 2 favorite STS9 songs.
Really?
Yeah,
What's your other favorite SS9 song?
Get Loud.
Oh.
I was just
Especially the
gonna
last couple
say,
times they played it.
Were we all just thinking about how awesome Marine was individually?
Yeah,
what I was thinking about is like how quicker this song is growing than Get Loud is, and
Yeah.
how much quicker it's becoming what Get Loud is now than how long it took for Get Loud to become what it is now, right?
that's
Mhm.
fascinating.
Because that modular when I think Hunter triggers it, right? Phipps gets it going, and when that happens, it sends Hunter on a fucking mission to take you to space, right? And
Yeah.
like this is becoming that peak, like it's almost becoming a Blue Mood, a Hunter Brown moment, right? Where
Ah.
like
I
the
like that.
just like driving, soaring Hunter Brown,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, like even the composed section of Get Loud has like a huge Hunter Brown soaring eagle section, right? But like this is kind of like okay, unscripted. Let's create space for Hunter to do his fucking thing, right?
Right.
And it's a combination of just like wailing, but also like driving and like still playing rhythm guitar and lead guitar at the same time. It's extremely impressive. And I thought this was the standout Hunter Brown moment of the night.
I would agree. This or there's one moment we'll get to a little later on. How many clips you got? You got a couple more clips, I think, but
Just one more.
one
Yeah.
more moment at the end that was pretty spectacular from them. But
Let's take a second now to talk about the lights, right? Because just from not even being there, Brandon, we've noticed, I think, an upgrade, right? Between what we saw in the oyster crackers is these like full on like
yeah,
LED bars with like lined with like strobe bars and shit like that.
yeah, it was really cool. So it was less of like the waffle oyster crackers kind of thing, like where everybody's like everyone was like kind of covered up and shrouded in mystery. They had like I was like trying to count them, maybe like 10, 12 little 3 kind of section squares that almost looked like a pixelated heart to kind of go with the love 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 theme, which I thought was kind of cool if they're trying to lean into that. I don't know if that's just some random coincidence or if that's something actually like we're picking up on. And then they had like the little visual bars underneath, which was really cool. And it looked like they had a bit more of like the projection mapped kind of spacey,
like where it's all one pattern. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yep.
all like one seamless pattern throughout each of like the separate LEDs, which was looked very different than Nashville. It was kind of it was much more interesting, I think, and doing some cooler stuff.
Yeah.
So you would call it an upgrade?
I would call it an upgrade for sure. I mean, visually, and then you could still see, like, you could see everybody, so it was like less like you were trying to hide behind lights, and you could see like every member of the band, and then just a really nice, like, kind of like you're saying, right? It's like this like seamless kind of singular image, but broken up.
Yeah, on the different screens. Yeah,
and then they also had really nice house lights at the anthem, with it being like a brand new state of the art. So you had, I think, the added value in some of the house lighting there as well.
And it seems like there's 2 extra sets of these. This was the biggest stage they played on with the new lights designer with Drew and Martin. Drew running it, Martin designing it. I think they had more of these, whatever you want to call them, consoles at the ready. That's what Zach had told me in Nashville, at least. That like, hey, we couldn't even fit everything on the Nashville stage, which is a smaller stage.
Much bigger stage than Nashville.
Yeah, so I think there's actually 2 more of the sets of LED panels that are there, which maybe allows them to kind of bring them down a little bit more, which helps with visibility for sure. I really like how they mesh with Jeffrey a lot, how like they're in front of him and behind him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I haven't seen that many videos or that much content from it, but yeah, I would agree. It seemed like an upgrade for sure. What would you think was the biggest lighting moment of the night?
I think that EHM Rabble was actually pretty huge with the lights. If not like the opening, they got kind of, full spectrum on it. But then again, too, my perspective is only just up front. At least when they were playing, I was more at the back for when Lotus, and then we were close for Tribe. So I didn't really get like the full or like the balcony kind of silhouettes and views and looks there. But from the pictures and what I saw, everything looks pretty upgraded.
Yeah. Well,
I gotta imagine our next clip was probably a pretty big highlight in terms of light.
Yeah. Before we get to that clip, they stuck an orbital in here.
Yes, they did.
That was wild.
A little snack orbital, if you will.
Yeah. A little hors d'oeuvre or d'oeuvre. A sub 9-minute orbital. I can't remember the last orbital that would have been less than 12 or so minutes, but again, not my favorite orbital. I felt like, did we sneak it in there to fit? Said that we're not going balancing Leipzig Symphony and Unity, It's All Right into shaky ground. Like I
think they had to break that up.
With an older song.
Yeah, but it was nice that the intro to the orbital's very different.
It was cool. The intro is cool for sure, but I felt like the rest of it was as mailed in and as it gets in 3.0 STS9 orbitals.
So it was still hot, but
yeah, I mean, who's going to complain about an orbital? But
nobody.
No, but I think it's worth noting it by no means a standout version. But speaking of standing out, we'll get into our final clip here of some more just segue fuckery here.
get down, rock it out from this shaky ground. We got to get down, rock it out from this shaky ground. We got to.
Oh my god, dude.
shaky ground. We got to get down, rock it out from this shaky ground. We got to get down, rock it out from this shaky ground. We got to get down, rock it out from this shaky ground. We got to.
All right. So before we say anything here, we talked about a lot of sandwiches on this from this show. So it had me thinking, what's like the signature sandwich of Washington, D.C.? So upon further review, it looks like the Fight Club sandwich used to be and is the kind of Washington, D.C. signature sandwich, which if anything about these sandwiches, it screams Fight Club. Right? So this was thin sliced roast beef on toasted white bread with brown butter, mayonnaise, bacon, roasted tomatoes, and shreddis. Was the one signature dish of the now closed Fight Club restaurant in Washington, D.C. But it's almost like they looked that up.
Fascinating.
These segues and sandwiches are giving Fight Club energy for sure.
I think people are asking you the wrong questions about Brace Yourself, Jason. I see a lot of people saying, "Who is Jason? What did he do to deserve this?" I'm more curious. Do we think that this warning even helped, or
Yeah.
was he just on an airplane and somebody was like, "Brace yourself, Jason"? Bam! Like it's
Yeah,
over.
sucker punch.
It was more like a vertigo thing, like the room was shaking and you just had to brace yourself.
That's true. Yeah, that's shaky. From the shaky ground,
Shaky
you have to
ground.
brace yourself. Okay, I see that.
Okay. I don't
I
hate
never
that.
thought of that. Great
No, I
thought,
didn't
Brandon.
either.
Here's my other thought. So this is a cover by Music. It's the second time that they've done it. The first time they did it was on New Year's Eve in New Orleans. Here's my thought. Leave it in. Do this every fucking time.
Yeah, just make this part of it.
Make this a part of Shaky Ground.
Yeah.
Like it's so fucking good. Like,
yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
The Jason Myers part.
he had to brace himself. There we go. I just think it gives Shaky Ground the depth it needs in that middle section it needs, and it's
Sure.
so perfect, and it keeps it high energy. But like,
do you think it'll be on the album?
No, it's a cover.
Yeah, both of those songs are covers.
Shaky Ground is like a loose. Yeah, it's like a loose inspiration from a song.
We talked about it on the first episode of the podcast. Actually, the first or second. But yeah, it's early 90s. Yeah, it's like an early 90s club track, if my memory's serving me correctly. Go back and listen to our original episodes, all of which are brought to you by Sets by Scotty. But yeah, no, that's they're both covers, and they work very, very well together. So I totally agree with that. I think it's a great idea.
That's by Scotty. Didn't they just go through a rebrand or something?
We sure did, Brandon, and we've got a contest going on right now. Share it on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok.
Yeah, you could get this show on a one long piece of wood. So here's the thing. My continued gripes with some things from this show. A 5.5 minute opening.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's close out the show. So we've got the 5.5 minute opening. And then
a world go round encore.
World go round, solid world go round, but we're not clipping it. And let's talk about the layout of this show as a whole. And I guess we'll start with you, Nate, because you kind of started to get into it already. What are your thoughts of the overall presentation of this as a set list on paper after we've heard the best parts of it, obviously?
On paper, I think it's the first show in a long time that looks better on paper than it sounds.
Okay.
On paper, you're like, damn, they probably got into that opening to finish it up, or man, that orbital was probably fucking nutty, or hey, that Come Why was probably a fucking rug cutter, or that frequencies probably went into another dimension, right? Where like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of these tracks were like mixed in for the sake of paper, which we have not seen them doing quite a bit, and I think that resulted in them being able to fit all 20 of these songs into some of it being mailed in and some of it being cut short. So
it was an interesting thing with having something planned originally, and then with the light of the parade getting like snuck in on them, they still had to like make a political statement and yet promote their new music at the same time.
I think the problem is that they've done that more seamlessly in the past. Maybe they didn't have enough time to think about it, or maybe there's a little bit ADD in terms of what they thought they were doing. Like, it's just it wasn't my favorite show. There's some awesome moments, and like cut to me fucking
a half hour
30 minutes ago getting down. I mean, like I'm still gonna get down and listen to it and really enjoy it, but like you rank it, I think it was
no, especially being in Nashville.
Yeah,
especially being in Nashville. Nashville was a better show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't like the word mailed in.
Yeah.
I don't either. To be clear, I don't either. That's a poor choice of words by me because it's the last thing that the band ever does.
Yeah.
But we're talking comparatively. It just seemed like,
Sure.
it was hard to. It felt like they were struggling to get their footing in a lot of places.
Okay. I think there is something to be said about these marathon sets that it seems like, because I guess before I say this, Brandon, did Lotus get any more time, or would you say that their slot was a standard opening slot?
Lotus had a standard like hour 20
Okay.
slot.
Okay. So with
And then
that in
Tribe played
mind,
for 2 hours straight.
right. So with that in mind, I think there's a something to be said about the experimentation that's going on right now, because they didn't have to do the 2 hour set, and they did. I think we've all at this point had conversations with individual members of the band where they've kind of voiced that they like this direction,
They like
and
that format.
right, they're not necessarily big fans of the set break, and maybe we're starting to see that, that's starting to go away for them. If that is the case, first of all, I think, fuck yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
I'm on board. Don't get
I'm
me
on board
wrong.
too.
But
But
there's
I
going to be
think
nights where it falls flat, like maybe while
maybe,
they're
or
figuring it out.
right, or maybe that's what we're seeing right now.
Well, you think, right? They got that big West Coast tour coming up. They haven't done that in a while, right? This is like the DC show is a time to kind of try a couple things, especially
Right.
it's
True.
hard.
Those will be proper throwdowns.
Sure,
Yeah.
and I think it's I'm not going to look at it right now because I don't want to drag, but I feel like there weren't as many songs at the in the Sweetwater set. Nate, if you can look that up real quick and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they're kind of finding their footing as to what does fit in this time slot that they're giving themselves now. And I think the fairest thing that you said is maybe they were kind of shoving one or two in there.
Yeah,
Just
maybe
'cause
lose the orbital, maybe lose the
no,
opening
absolutely.
to
That
give a
was what I
couple
was about
minutes
to
to some of
say.
these other tracks.
I
Yes, yes.
absolutely agree. I think the sweet spot for these sets is somewhere between 16 to 18 songs. Um, and I think all of us are in favor of, more explored, jammed out, just kind of the fuck around that we talk about all the time.
Wave
Um,
spell.
yeah, the way, but that's not where they're at right now. They still got to play their new shit, and they still got to get that in there too. So yeah, I mean, I think 20 songs for a format like this is a bit much.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got the stats for you. So the last two being Resonate, the 2 hour set the first night, 15 songs.
see,
Sweetwater was 14. Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Like, and we got it like that Sweetwater one. We got that Some Sing. We got a People's. And we got some nice girthy STS9
Most of the
songs.
songs are 10 plus minutes, which again,
Right.
I know that doesn't matter, but I think when we're talking about it with this format, I think it's worth bringing up. I mean,
It doesn't
yeah, you had a
hurt.
14
Like,
plus
it
minute,
kind of matters.
14 plus minute Get Loud, 12 plus minute Give and Take, 12-minute Move My Peeps, 14 plus minute
Yeah.
Rabble, 10 plus minute Possibilities, 10 plus
Mhm.
minute Something and Arigato. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about it. And again, they're figuring it out, but yeah, just as much as with as much fluffing I do, which
Yeah.
I don't even look at it as a fluffing. I'm just telling it how it is with the
You
current
just gotta
state of the
shoot
band.
straight.
But yeah, shooting it straight wasn't my favorite.
Mhm.
Yeah.
MVP of the show. I'm curious. I think we all have a different answer here.
I mean, mine might be my wife because she caught a drumstick and
Nice.
she was clearly the MVP jumping up on the rail for getting loud. It's so
All 4 feet of her just
Within
Yeah.
within the band though, Brandon, who are you picking? I'm interested to see.
So mine comes down to, for this particular show, is either Zach or Hunter. because you guys
Okay.
can't see it because you can only listen to it. But Hunter like snapped a couple strings on his guitar during the world go around, just shredding, and they're floating in the wind there, like after the show. And I was just like,
Sick.
damn, and then, during the La Suia, that's what I'm trying to get that going. The
It
Life
works.
Symphony and Unity,
Yeah.
the La Suia. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go Hunter on this one, but it was really close between him and Zach, I would say.
And Nate, yours is that?
Yeah, I as effort, I haven't changed my mind. I think it was Zach for sure.
Mine's
He's a
Hun-
fucking
mine's Hunter.
animal.
Mine's
Yeah.
Hunter. I think this
Okay.
is I think honestly, I think that this is the first show where there's even an argument to be made for anyone else other than Phipps.
and man still was fucking on fire.
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
like,
I'm not, and
the
I
Homie was
Shakti
on cloud
is,
nine.
yeah.
Phipps
and
was.
and as far as those other shows, I am not saying anything about the rest of the band. I just think that David Phipps has been playing like his hair is on fire all of 2025.
He's got that
And
big hat on.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Have we
I mean,
checked that it's not? Is it not on fire?
I cannot say with 100% certainty that it is not currently on fire. And it might have been this show too, but I think for the first time, after listening to this twice, which is I guess 3 times counting the clips that we just listened to together, I would say that this is the first show where every other track I was like, okay, there's the Hunter that kind of kicked everyone's ass last year. I would say last year was Hunter's year. And yeah, I agree with you, Brandon. I think it's Hunter.
Good stuff. Well, Brandon, you got a chance to connect with the band after the show. How'd they feel about it?
They love DC. They loved the venue. Definitely hope to see them stop there on like a tour. I think what Phipps said to me, he's like, I wish they had a bus. There's like great showers back here. I was like, oh, like, like in the middle of a long tour, you get off the bus, they got a good shower, they got good
Yeah.
hospitality program for their artists. I we love that because a happy artist makes a happy fan.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just like state of the art, really nice place.
Yeah, and they deserve that at this point in their career, dude. Like they deserve to be playing venues like that. Yeah. I know you had mentioned to me something about Phipps's current ventures we've got a little bit of a break between shows here. They're not playing until July 10th, I don't think, right? So what's he up to?
Yeah, so Phipps told me he's like going to do like some learning in Europe with like a synth wizard. I don't quite remember the name of where he was going or who exactly he was studying with, but he said he was going to be learning some new things and meeting with like, I think of like those Pretty Lights memes where all the wizards are sitting in the forest playing with the
the Euro racks.
I'm just like, wow, it's actually like a thing. They actually go and do this.
That's a documentary.
It was written. That wow. As if we need him picking up any more tricks. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, right. But it was pretty business as usual. It was nice to see everybody and like hear about how their families are doing and check in on like that human level. So that's always nice.
Good. Yeah, we know they're pumped up right now. Well, we're gonna finish things out with a recurring segment presented by Sets by Scotty, presented by BPerl Art this week as well, and that is Inspire, Bring It Back. Before I get into mine, anything you got on the table? We like to open it up to our guests. If you got anything, Brandon, you'd like to see brought back.
Remind me, Inspire, Bring It Back. I just gotta.
Anything you feel like that you'd like to see brought back by the band within the community, anything surrounding STS9?
Oh, well, I mean, dying for this since I found out it was a thing back in the day. The STS9 girlfriends all made plushies that they used to keep on stage. So I've been trying to talk to whoever's in charge to try and get that resurrected because I think that would be such a cool thing either for the fans or maybe even something Eli, if you're listening, get that.
Yeah, I
signed.
think that's exactly where my head just went.
Yeah, either Eli or I know like even Gina's like made some like cool pillows and stuff with her sewing abilities. I don't know, like to do something like that or get these plushies back. I don't know if we can
Here we go.
Even,
yeah,
but,
show me a picture of this. I didn't know this was a thing.
It was like one of the coolest things. So there was like some different.
Oh, those are sick.
But I
that looks like one of her weird friends.
Yeah, it's like these weird like kachinas. Well, because that's also what Eli's like collages were based on, like some of her like spirit deities, like the
kachinas,
like Indian kind of or Native American rather, like deities that like, yeah. So I think those would be really cool to bring back.
Future guest on the show, ELIEEL_EYE. If y'all don't know who we're talking about, a very talented artist and a member of the community as well.
All right. Well, I love that. That's a great idea. For me, kind of stems off what we're seeing with this upgrade with the new light rig, going from the kind of the oyster cracker style or waffle style or Cheez-It style, dice style to a full LED panel. I'd like to see Mayan art brought back into the visuals for the live show. Throw up a fucking Hunabku on every single one of those and just go nuts. Throw up some Mayan
individual
9.
glyphs like like the crystal human or I think you're like a white resonant dog, if I'm not mistaken, Nate. Scotty, I'm not up on your wave spell kin as it would be, but
well, I'd love to know it. I'm not up on my own wave spell. I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about right now.
You know what your birthday is? I'll pull it up.
Yeah, it's like your astrology signs.
Okay, okay, cool. Like, February 20th, 1990.
But we saw it a bunch in the Great Cycle Spectacles mixed in and everything like that. And like now that we've got like proper LED panels where we can actually mix in not so much just patterns, but like video content. I just foresee those being used throw up a Hunabku on every single one of them and have them like change colors and shit. I think that would be dope as fuck. So
Scotty, you're a red spectral Skywalker.
Oh fuck yeah. That sounds cool. I think that's a reason. I think it's reasonable to expect that, Nate. With the whole artifact human dream, whatever that little logo means. Feels like that. They're probably gonna tap into that at some point real soon.
Love it. Well, I'd love to see it. Well, Brandon, thank you for joining us. Again, we'll have you back very soon. You're gonna be one of our recurring guests, but glad you're able to make it to DC. Yeah, absolutely. And always good to have perspective from someone with boots on the ground. But thanks for watching and listening, folks. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify or Apple Music, like, subscribe, leave a review if you're feeling nice. But everybody have a great weekend, great Juneteenth, and we'll see you next week. Much love.
Much love.
Yep.
Peace. Peace, 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 peace.